This is the Rode VideoMic NTG. It is what you get when two of Rode's signature microphone lines come together. The NTG series of broadcast shotgun mics and the VideoMic series of on-camera mics. This entire review is recorded on the VideoMic NTG. Since I'm shooting on a 35mm prime lens, the camera is a bit far from me, so I have the microphone boomed on top about a foot away or about 30 centimeters away from my mouth. But later in the video, I will show you here. Listen, you will hear how the Rode VideoMic Go, a much smaller, cheaper microphone, sounds like in comparison. So let's get started. The VideoMic NTG is a Swiss Army knife of microphones. It's an aluminum, well-built hybrid broadcast-grade shotgun microphone with a super cardioid pattern. It's highly directional, so it does a good job at rejecting sounds coming from the sides or the rear. It actually uses the same acoustic design as Rode's NTG5 broadcast shotgun mic. But what differentiates it from the NTG series is that this thing is optimized for on-camera use. This means it does not use an XLR cable, but a 3.5mm output that you can plug in directly to your camera without the need for a preamp or an external recorder. Of course, without that external preamp, that also means you're stuck using your camera's built-in, often terrible and noisy preamps, but the VideoMic NTG has the answer to that as well. It has an infinitely variable gain control that amplifies your signal and lets you bypass or minimize the use of your camera's lower quality preamps to get cleaner audio. Right now I have the DSLR gain set at 1, which is the lowest setting it can go, and the VideoMic NTG is set at 12. It doesn't end here because this thing is feature packed. The microphone also powers on automatically when you turn on your camera and powers off when you turn it off, which is a great thing. You won't end up draining your battery if you forget to turn it off, and you won't end up recording your video without audio if you forget to turn it on. But of course, you can also turn it on manually by pressing the power button for 3 seconds. Pressing it again engages the -20 decibel pad, which would come in handy if you're recording in a very loud environment, and another press engages the safety channel, which also is an awesome feature. This records a separate channel at 20 decibels lower in case the main channel clips. If, for example, you're recording an interview and all of a sudden your subject starts yelling. There's also a peak warning light which blinks red when you're clipping. Then you get the filter control button. One press engages the 75Hz high pass filter, a second press engages the 150Hz filter, and a long press will engage the high frequency boost. The VideoMic NTG has a built-in rechargeable battery that gives you about 30 hours of recording. It charges via USB-C in 2 hours, but not only that, if you plug this thing into a computer, tablet, or mobile, you can use it as a USB microphone for those Zoom calls or even for recording some voiceovers. You can of course also use the 3.5mm jack to plug it directly to your camera or voice recorder. Not only that, but you can also plug it in directly into your mobile phone. It actually has an auto-sensing 3.5mm output, which detects what device you've connected, be it a TRS camera or a TRRS mobile phone, and it switches to accommodate. So there's no longer a need to worry about cables and converters. Rode also took connecting to a mobile phone, specifically an iPhone, a step further at the end of last year when they released a firmware update to the VideoMic NTG that makes it MFI certified, unlocking the full capabilities of the microphone when connected to an iOS device. While previously you could connect it to an iDevice using the 3.5mm cable and a lightning adapter, connecting it via USB-C comes with several benefits. For starters, you can now use the headphone jack for audio monitoring, which also means you can now get two-way audio, so you can actually make video calls. Not only that, connecting to a phone via USB-C allows you to make use of the safety channel, which otherwise is not available if you've connected via 3.5mm cable. To use the microphone via USB on an iDevice, you would need the SC15 cable, which is a USB-C to Lightning cable. The microphone has battery status indicators as well to let you know the approximate battery level. Green indicates the battery is fully charged, amber indicates medium charge, red indicates low charge, and blinking red indicates very low charge. The microphone comes with a Rode shock mount that helps reduce unwanted vibrations being captured, and here's where I like the attention to detail from Rode. The Rode mount has a sliding rail and it is adjustable. It moves forward or backwards, so if you're mounting this on top of your camera, you get some flexibility in moving it maybe out of the shot if you're using a wide lens, or out of your forehead if you're using the viewfinder. And it also has cable management on the base of the mount, which lets you stow excess cable to avoid excess dangling or maybe cable noise. The cold shoe is also threaded with a 3/8-inch thread, so in addition to mounting on your camera's hot shoe, you can easily mount the mic on a boom pole, tripod, or a desk stand. So you've been listening to the VideoMic NTG, but how does it compare to the VideoMic Go? I have it boomed right next to it, so let's switch to that and see. And this is how the Rode VideoMic Go sounds like. Keep in mind, this is by no means a fair comparison because the VideoMic NTG, which is 2.5 times more expensive, is in a completely different league. The VideoMic Go does not have a built-in battery, there's no preamp, and thus it relies on your camera's built-in preamps, which, as you know, are quite bad. And in this case, I had to actually crank the preamp on my DSLR all the way up to 7 from 1 when I was recording on the VideoMic NTG. I will remain silent for a few seconds so that you can hear the noise floor. And by the way, it's worth mentioning that I was getting some pretty bad interference with the VideoMic Go. As I mentioned, my camera is pretty far away, so I did need to use a longer 3.5mm cable to be able to connect to it. And when I listened to my first recording, there was a pretty annoying buzz, evident interference in the background. And it turns out that was from the electricity in my studio lights on my right and on my left. I actually had to move my light on the left a few feet back to try to get rid of that interference. You might still be getting some very minimal interference from the light on my right, but I think it's very minimal. Also worth mentioning that I was using the exact same cable with the VideoMic NTG and there was no interference there. So it does sound like the VideoMic NTG is less prone to interference or maybe better shielded than the VideoMic Go, so also worth mentioning. At any point, as I mentioned, this is not a fair comparison, but nonetheless, I felt it might be good for you to hear what the VideoMic Go sounds like, so you can decide for yourself if the VideoMic NTG is worth paying 2.5 times more for your own specific needs or not. I will go back to the VideoMic NTG now for my final thoughts. The VideoMic NTG is a very versatile microphone, and at $250, I can't say it's cheap, but for what it offers, I do think it's a great bang for your buck. You get a really decent noise floor, and I'll be silent for a sec here so that you can hear that, but do keep in mind I am in an untreated room. You also get an excellent on-camera microphone with a variable gain control, which lets you bypass the most of your camera's built-in preamps, so you don't need to worry about having an external preamp. You get a built-in battery, so you don't need to worry about phantom power. You get a 3.5mm output, so you don't need to worry about XLR cables, converters, or external recorders. You get a safety channel, you get a mic that works with mobile phones and tablets, and you get a USB microphone as well. And if you register the mic with Rode, you get a whopping 10-year warranty on this as well. On the negative side, well, I can't think of many negatives. I would have liked if the battery was replaceable, which it is not, unfortunately, and batteries do have a finite number of charge-discharge cycles before they no longer can hold a charge. Unfortunately, the battery is not replaceable. The price might be a negative for some, although again, I think it offers a great deal of bang for your buck, and maybe the fact that it carries unbalanced audio, so if you're booming the mic and your cable is long, you might get some interference, but there are always solutions to that. If you absolutely love everything about this microphone and interference from unbalanced audio is the only thing holding you back, well, there are solutions. You can plug this into a voice recorder like a Zoom and record there. you can plug it into a wireless system like the Rode Wireless Go, or if your setup already uses XLR, you can even purchase the Rode VXLR Pro, which is a 3.5mm female to male XLR adapter, so that not only lets you connect your VideoMic NTG to your XLR rig and converts phantom power from your rig to plug-in power, but it also converts the unbalanced signal to a balanced one, so then you can go long distances without worrying about interference. So would I recommend it? If this fits your needs and budget, then absolutely. It's a great, super versatile Swiss Army mic. But doesn't matter what I think, the point of this review is to help you better make the purchase decision, and I hope I was able to do that. If you did like this video, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel, as this encourages me to continue producing such content. Until next time, cheers.